Hello everybody, Pinstripe here. What is going on? Today I've got a bit of a special video here for you, showcasing all of the weapons in Hogs of War, in 3D form as well, because the Open Hogs of War editor does have a renderer, but many people don't actually know how to use it, so I figured why not import these models into Maya and add their textures and talk about them, because we very rarely see these weapons in full 3D. We can only really see them when they're being held by the pigs, so to be able to look at them in terms of their topology and the textures themselves and just the details, it's always very interesting to talk about. So we're going to start with these guys here, because they are the simple ones. I haven't put any of this to scale really. I've just sort of neatly put it all together. And of course you can notice some unused items as well, including that walkie-talkie in the background. So starting off, you'll notice that these items, usually melee weapons, so the knife, the sword, the knife on the end of the bayonet, are 2D planes. So they are super thin. They are a single texture just put onto the plane, and then I'm guessing in whatever the game was, whatever engine Hogs of War was run in, the black alpha channel would be removed. So then you'd have a single thin plane, which is true because when you look at the knife, it doesn't actually have any 3D form. It is a single 2D asset, I guess. Here we've got the wonderful gas canister, which is used for the poison gas, and the same for the freeze gas and the madness gas. They're just textured differently. So I'll say this one's green. If it's freeze gas, it will be blue, and madness gas will be red. Next we have the grenade, which is fired from the grenade launcher, and you can also throw it as well if you have the roller grenades. Not much to say about that one because it's literally just textured black. There's nothing more to it. And same with the mine as well. You kind of know what it is. Underneath, it's... Wait, did I add detail underneath? I can't remember. Let me just move this bad boy up a little bit. I might also hide the skybox as well, because I've created it inside a ball, just so the lighting looks a bit nicer, because I've added a sky texture into it, but I'm just going to hide it so I don't bump into it all the time. Did I add detail? There is a texture. Oh, there you go. You can see the little detail underneath. That would actually go on top. So the textures aren't 100% accurate because I don't really do textures. It's not really my thing. But you know, it's fine. Actually, wait. Just put that back to... Is that actually where it was? I thought that was a bit lower. So yeah, I'm going to hide the skybox. And we're going to look at some TNT, which as a 3D model is also very simple. And you'll notice that the single 2D texture of the fuse is cut into 3 and just placed on top. So yeah, very, very simple. Same with the grenades as well. There's not really much to talk about there. They're just sort of shaped that way. Like this one is short and fat, and then this one is long and a bit more thin. This one is the high explosive grenade, and then this one is used for the regular grenade and cluster bombs. And right next to it, as you can see, is the medical ball, which for some reason has an odd texture there. I don't know if that was my error or something else, but either way, just got some love hearts on it. Single, it's not a cube, cylinder that's been shaped into somewhat of a circle. You'll notice that if I turn on the wireframes on the model, you'll notice just how simple all of these are. You don't need to go to great lengths to create detail with, you know, huge amounts of polys, and that's where the real achievement comes in for Hogs of War, because they were throwing, you know, I guess for the time it was large amounts of detail at the PlayStation 1. But the fact that they were able to get such amount of detail with such little polys is quite an achievement, and it's worth commending as well. So wireframes is always cool. This is Maya, by the way, which is the key animation software that I use. That's also good for modeling. You're either going to use Maya or 3ds for modeling related stuff. I was thinking of being all fancy and rigging these and then having them rotate on the camera, but I just figured I could go into detail about them by just, you know, talking about them individually. So the main one, as you can see here, is the telescope, which is very simple in terms of design, but you know exactly what it is from just looking at it, even if it's from a distance. This was unused, and it was meant to be used for reconnaissance, so the player could see their pig in first person, and you could zoom in to other enemy players on the map, that kind of thing. Basically like the standard binoculars that you'd have in Worms, that sort of thing. We've kind of already talked about the sword, which you can't see the end of it, but if I do a render, then you can actually see the end of it there. It's to do with the normal maps and stuff. I don't really know where I went wrong with that one, but either way you can see. The shovel is the other one here, and this you have actually seen before in my previous videos, where the architect would actually have this to build stuff. So that would be pulled out when you have selected to build something, and then he'd pull this out and sort of stand on it and then wave up into the air, and then a crate would come down and the building would be built. But it was also used in the earlier version as well, because engineers were going to be able to build and repair things, so it was going to play into that somehow. I don't know what I've done here. I think I edited this texture for the pistol, but I removed the black outline and it made it transparent. But again, if I render, you can kind of see it. It's basically the same. So yeah, the pistol is again very simple, but it's a classic given that it's used by the gunner or the heavy weapons class. But overall its shape is very simple, and the handle is a simple 2D plane, but you don't really see that because, again, when the pig aims forward, the handle is kind of covered by his hand. And it's the same with the single machine gun as well. The 2D plane is here, so that's kind of what you'd see when it's being held. You're more likely to see like the middle section and the main barrel of the gun as well. But it's a cool little Tommy gun, and this part is very much shaped like a mine. I feel like it's the mine that's just been sort of squashed, so it's flat, and then that's just been connected into there. Basically what that is. But it's a cool little feature as well. I'm going to leave the big ones. We're going to come to those in a little bit. You may have seen this already. I used this in my recent thumbnail for the super ultra mega trick shot that was done by Herpderp. But this is the shotgun. It's both the shotgun and the super shotgun. I believe this is the super shotgun texture. The regular shotgun would just be like a simple brown texture and then gold on the end. But this is kind of a mishmash of the in-between. You can kind of see a trigger, or at least I thought you could. Is it on the other side? Yeah, it's kind of more on this side. You can see the trigger. I keep moving the camera in the way. So yeah, that is the shotgun. Very simple. Moving back up here, we have the sniper rifle, which is essentially the rifle that is, you know, that one, but with an elongated barrel and a scope, which has a simple 2D plane connection onto it texture. But the rifle textures are really odd because, I mean, you know what it is from looking at it, but the overall shape of it, like down towards here, you can see the trigger is right there. You never really see this section here, just because the way the pig holds it, it kind of blocks that area, so the model doesn't look as strange. And as for the regular rifle, that's also used for the tranquilizer and the medical darts and whatever rifle-based weapon I may have missed. And you can see here the bayonet, which is just the standard knife texture plonked on the end. It does a good job overall, but yeah, the shape of the rifles are a little bit funky. So onto this other unused item then, and I'm pretty sure this was meant to be used for when a pig wanted to call in an airstrike. They would pull this out alongside waving or doing some other animation. I swear it was used somewhere, or I've seen it being used somewhere. I'm pretty sure for that purpose, but yeah, it's a very simple model, very simple texture where all the detail is kind of on the front here. And the antenna is just a simple grey texture as well. So nice, neat little unused model. I'm going to move over to here because this is the biggest 3D model, which is the parachute. It doesn't actually have this texture. I think I used this from somewhere else. The texture itself is more transparent, and there would actually be like ropes and stuff coming down from here. But I figured this would be the best replacement texture, just so you can see the overall scale of it, and you can also see the little front bit here. Oops, zoomed out too far. You can see the little front bit here as well that would connect onto the pig, and then he'd be like holding his arms up here, so he's like holding onto it. But yeah, that's the biggest model. Again, I haven't done this to scale or anything. I've scaled things up myself. So yes, on to the cattle prod. Which is a very odd looking 3D model. It's very sort of space agey with the whole like grey metallic texture. I also think that the ends here had a little bit, the texture itself for these were a bit different. I might have placed those in the wrong place, but those are just two 2D planes overlapping each other to indicate an X. So again, very simplistic models, but with a fair amount of detail, because you instantly know, what those two planes are meant to represent, kind of thing. Onto one of the biggest guns, handheld rifle-ish guns, is the heavy machine gun. Again, this has another 2D plane indicating the handle, which is not on the other side. And I think I got these textures right. I believe so. I kept looking at this for ages and being like, wait, was this texture always this long? Or, did this one have this sort of overlapping more onto here? But there's plenty of detail in this, given that you have, the main center box that would house all the ammo and all the ammo in there and stuff like that. So yeah, it's one of my favorite 3D models because it's just ridiculous in terms of size. Especially when you see it in comparison to the size of pigs as well. It's pretty cool. This one over here is, of course, the Super TNT, which is also having normal map issues, given that the half of it is like in shadow or black. Again, I think if I render, it might be okay. Kind of. I don't know, but you can sort of see what's going on. I also haven't textured this perfectly either. Because, or has it? Have I textured this right? It looks right, but I'm pretty sure I textured it wrong at some point. Either way, Super TNT, very simple, very, explosive, and very cool. But on to the Flamethrower, which is one of the weirdest looking models in the entire game. But as you can see, again, we've got 2D planes down here, you've got the fuel canisters on here, and then you have the main funnel there. It's just such a weird looking flamethrower. I mean, it's cool, it fits the overall style, but it's just so strange being able to see it actually in 3D. It's pretty cool. I have posted about this weapon before. I posted screenshots in the Discord, usually from this angle where people can see the front of it, because it's usually being held by a pig. But yeah, it's nice, very nice. Move that back there, and we're going to move on to, I believe this is an unused submachine gun, which I have also used in previous thumbnails. Usually it's held by a legend or a hero, or a commando as well. Those are the three main suspects that are in the thumbnails. But again, this one had a single 2D plane and then just two 3D cubes that were just stretched out and placed on top of each other. When you you let the texture do the talking with a lot of these models, because you know that's a circle, that's a altered circle, that's just a flat square that's been shaped a little bit. You know, they're just very simplistic models, but it's the textures that give all the detail and make things interesting. So that's the unused submachine gun. Not much to say about that one. Of course, we have the jetpack, which has a fair amount of detail, but I've also textured this one wrong. As you can see, it's a bit wonky with the textures, but I mean, you know how it's meant to look, so it's fine. And I did all the other bits, you know, fine as well, so not much to say about that one. But I love the detail on the sides and on the back as well. So actually being able to see those details up close is quite cool, because this is something I've always wanted to do. I've always wanted to be able to see and view these models in 3D. But obviously the problem with Hogs of War is that it is complicated to even think about getting 3D models or trying to extract the full 3D model, because you know Hogs of War is made up of lots of different pieces, and it's your job to put those pieces together, or at least try to. So I have to thank Hogsy and the Open Hogs of War team for allowing this to happen and sharing these 3D models, because these are from the PC version, but at the same time they're also from the PlayStation version. There's just little details in the textures that are more related to the PC version, like for instance the heavy weapons stuff. Like, you know, these are all green, whereas in the PlayStation version they are like silver and they look like giant dustbins. It's funky. But this one is the Airburst. It is the cleanest looking heavy weapon model, because the other ones suffer from normal map issues. But if I render it, see if it looks any prettier. Probably not. That actually looks worse. I don't have Arnold renderer on, but yeah, that is the Airburst. The majority of these models look pretty much the same. Like this one, I believe it is the Mortar. So there are ever so slight differences in sort of barrel length and like the middle section, how much that is chamfered and beveled and stuff. So there is slight differences, but the overall texture is just a single like green panel that has these like dots on them. So if I were to select these verts and just drag them out to make this look, it's basically just that square. That is the texture, and then that's placed across the entire model. And the heavy weapons were actually the only models that I was able to just plonk a texture onto and not have to reposition it either, which was lovely. Because if you know about UVs and setting textures and stuff, it can be a pain in the butt. So actually being able to select a single texture and plonk that onto a model without having to unwrap anything is always wonderful. This is the grenade launcher, which is looking very spazzy because again it's suffering from normal texture syndrome. And then back here we have the bazooka and the rocket launcher. The rocket launcher is the only one that has the same like green panel texture. Like it is a single panel, but obviously it's not green, it is like this silvery blue color. And then they have these like kind of like red warhead type shells on the end. And obviously this is the bazooka, which is probably the most famous one because it looks like a penis. No, it doesn't really. That is all of the models for Hogs of War. This is everything. I hope you guys have enjoyed this little showcase and observation of the textures and the models. Let me know your thoughts on everything about them in the comments below. I will be posting more screenshots and using these in thumbnails and things later on, so if you want to see more stuff about these, let me know. I'll be posting about it on LinkedIn and Twitter and Discord and all the social media. But in the meantime, that is going to wrap everything up. So let me know everything you got to say. Check out other videos if you haven't already, and I will catch you guys later for the next one. Woo! Yeah! Go crazy. Oh, where am I?
I'm going. I'm going.
Yeah.
I'm going. This destination going.